The Secret That Changed Everything. August 2, 2006, a Wednesday. While the world was distracted by flip phones and reality TV, a man named Elon Musk sat down and typed out a blog post. He called it, "The Secret Tesla Motors Master Plan, Just Between You and Me." At the time, you have to understand the optics. Tesla wasn't a titan, it was a science experiment. They were working out of a glorified garage, trying to shove laptop batteries into the hollowed-out shell of a Lotus Elise. The Titans of Detroit? They didn't just ignore him, they didn't even know he was there. To them, this wasn't a threat, it was a dot-com delusion, a billionaire's toy. The plan was almost insulting in its simplicity. 4 steps to conquer the world. Build a sports car, high price, low volume. Use that money to build an affordable car, medium price, medium volume. Use that money to build an even more affordable car, low price, high volume. While you're at it, provide zero-emission electric power generation. You know the history. You've seen the cars. The Roadster proved it was possible. The Model S proved it was desirable. The Model 3 proved it was scalable. They completed the S3XY lineup, and in doing so, they dragged the entire automotive industry kicking and screaming into the electric age. But here is what most people miss. They think the master plan is finished. They think the story is over. They are wrong. That 4-step list, that was just the prologue, the warm-up lap. If you enjoy uncovering the hidden mechanics of the future, go ahead and like and subscribe to Dravexa right now. We are about to peel back the layers of a machine so complex it makes the Model S look like a wind-up toy. Beyond the car, the Earth equation. You see, Tesla isn't a car company anymore. Stop thinking about wheels and leather seats. Today, Tesla is an artificial intelligence beast wrapped in a sustainable energy conglomerate disguised as an automaker. To understand where your future is heading, you have to look at Master Plan Part 3. The first 2 plans were about the survival of a company. Part 3, it's about the survival of a planet. The scope has zoomed out from the factory floor to the Earth's crust. It is no longer about selling units, it is about the cold, hard mathematics of energy flow. Musk calls it the Earth equation. The objective is staggering, the complete repowering of human civilization. Not just cars, we're talking ships, planes, homes, and the blast furnaces that smelt our steel. The 240 terawatt-hour solution. Here is the number you need to burn into your brain. 240 terawatt-hours. Tesla's internal physics team ran the numbers. To transition the entire global economy, every light bulb, every factory, every heater, away from fossil fuels, the world needs 240 terawatt-hours of energy storage. Batteries, combined with 30 terawatts of renewable power generation, solar and wind. Let's put that into perspective. The current global fleet of electric vehicles, a drop in the bucket, a rounding error. To hit 240 terawatt-hours, we need to scale battery production not by double, not by triple, but by orders of magnitude. We are talking about mining and refining on a scale that rivals the construction of the Panama Canal, repeated every single year. It requires a 3-pronged attack. Repowering the grid. The sun doesn't always shine and the wind doesn't always blow. To make renewables the base load, you need massive stationary storage. That's the megapack. It turns intermittent chaos into reliable flow. Electrifying high heat. This is the hard stuff. Industrial heat for making chemicals and steel requires temperatures above 1500 degrees Celsius. You can't just plug in a hairdryer. This requires hydrogen scaling and massive electric resistance furnaces. The final frontier of transport. We aren't just talking about your commute, we're talking about replacing the heavy bunker fuel in cargo ships and the kerosene in jet engines. The physics check. You might ask, can batteries really fly a plane? The answer lies in energy density. Jet fuel holds about 12,000 watt-hours per kilogram. Current batteries are pushing 300 to 500. We don't need to match jet fuel perfectly because electric motors are 90% efficient compared to a jet engine's 30%. But the gap is still there. Part 3 bets heavily on closing that gap for short-haul flights and using synthetic fuels for the long haul. The $10 trillion bargain. Now here comes the objection. You've heard the skeptics. It costs too much, it takes up too much land, the grid can't handle it. Tesla's white paper counters these emotional arguments with brutal arithmetic. They estimate the transition will cost $10 trillion over 2 decades. That sounds like a number designed to bankrupt nations. It sounds impossible. But here is the twist. Here is the secret the oil industry doesn't want you to calculate. If we don't transition, if we keep the status quo, the world is projected to spend $14 trillion just to find, extract, refine, and burn fossil fuels over that same period. Let that sink in. Going green is actually $4 trillion cheaper than staying dirty. It's not an expense, it's a savings account. And the land? People imagine paving over the entire Sahara with solar panels. The reality is far less dramatic. Because electric infrastructure is so much more efficient, remember, you aren't wasting 70% of your energy as heat like a gas engine does. You need less raw energy to do the same amount of work. The calculation shows that all the solar and wind infrastructure needed to power the entire world would take up less than 0.2% of the Earth's land area. To give you a visual, that is significantly less land than we currently use just to dig for coal and drill for oil. We aren't running out of space, we aren't running out of money, we are simply running out of excuses. But energy is only the fuel. The brain of this new world is something entirely different. Next, we have to talk about the silicone soul of the machine. Part 2. Shattering the assembly line. Imagine a car factory. Close your eyes and picture it. You see a long conveyor belt, right? A metal skeleton moving slowly down the line, sparks flying, robots twisting. That is the linear assembly line. It was invented by Henry Ford in 1913. It changed the world. But there is a problem. It is 110 years old. For Tesla to hit the targets of Masterplan Part 3, we are talking about 20 million cars a year, or roughly twice what Toyota produces. The old way isn't just slow, it is a straitjacket. In a traditional factory, if one robot drops a screw at station 40, the entire line stops at station 400. It is a series circuit. It is fragile. Tesla is about to do to manufacturing what they did to the engine. They are deleting the line. Enter the unboxed process. This isn't an upgrade, it is a demolition. Instead of a snake-like line, imagine a giant Lego set. Tesla is breaking the car into distinct subassemblies: the front, the rear, the floor, the sides. These parts aren't built one after another, they're built simultaneously. Parallel processing for atoms. The paint shop problem. You might not know this, but the paint shop is the villain of the automotive world. It is the most expensive, energy-hungry, and toxic part of any car factory. Traditionally, you have to weld the whole car body together, the body in white, and then dip the entire thing into massive pools of anti-corrosion chemicals and paint. You are painting air. You are painting the inside of pillars nobody will ever see. With the unboxed process, that bottleneck vanishes. They paint only what needs to be painted before assembly. Then comes the marriage. In a normal factory, humans and robots have to contort themselves like gymnasts to squeeze through door frames to install seats and dashboards. It's slow and it hurts. In the unboxed world, the floor is open. The seats and battery are installed onto the chassis with zero obstruction. The roof and sides are clamped on at the very end. The result? A factory that is 40% smaller. Production costs slashed by 50%. This is the secret weapon. This is the math that makes the rumored $25,000 Model 2 not just a dream, but an inevitability. If you want to stay ahead of the curve on how this tech is reshaping your wallet, take a second to like and subscribe to Dravexa. We track the future so you don't have to. Part 3. The ChatGPT moment for cars. We have built the body, now we must build the brain. This is where the story gets terrifying or exciting, depending on how much you trust silicone. For the last decade, self-driving cars were a rules-based game. Engineers sat in rooms drinking coffee, writing hundreds of thousands of lines of C++ code. If the light is red, stop. If a pedestrian steps out, brake. If a bird flies in front of the camera, figure it out. It was heuristic, it was rigid, and it hit a ceiling. The real world is messy. You can't code a rule for a man in a chicken suit riding a unicycle against traffic. The code breaks. Enter FSD v12. This is the moment everything changed. Musk and his team did something radical. They deleted the code. Over 300,000 lines of hard-coded rules, gone. Trash bin. They replaced it with a single massive end-to-end neural network. Think of it as the ChatGPT moment for cars. Just as ChatGPT learned to write by reading billions of articles, FSD v12 learned to drive by watching millions of videos. It works on pure intuition. Input, photons hitting the cameras. Processing, a massive AI brain trained on the Dojo supercomputer. Output, steering, braking, acceleration. There is no line of code that tells the car what a stop sign is. The car simply understands that when it sees that red octagon, humans stop, so it stops. It mimics the best human drivers, but without the distraction, the fatigue, or the text messages. This allows the system to handle edge cases, those weird, chaotic moments that baffle traditional robots. Why does this matter to you? Because this is the key to the Robo taxi. The moment this software becomes statistically safer than you, and the data suggests we're getting very close, your car stops being a liability. It becomes an asset. Imagine going to sleep and your car goes to work, picking up passengers, earning fares, and parking itself back in your driveway before you wake up. But for that to happen, we need one more piece of the puzzle. We need a workforce that doesn't sleep, doesn't eat, and doesn't complain. We need Optimus. Part 4. The Body. Optimus. Do you remember the dancer? 2021, AI Day. Elon Musk announces a humanoid robot, and out walks a guy in a spandex suit doing the robot dance. The internet laughed. The critics rolled their eyes. It looked like a sideshow. They aren't laughing anymore. Viewed through the lens of Masterplan Part 3, the robot, Optimus, was never a sideshow. It was inevitable. It is the missing variable in the equation. Here is the brutal truth about the future. We are running out of hands. If the goal is to repower the entire Earth, to mine gigatons of lithium, to build terawatts of solar panels, we have a problem. It's called demographics. The global workforce is shrinking. There simply aren't enough humans willing or able to do the dangerous, repetitive, back-breaking labor required to build the future. Enter Optimus. This isn't a science project. It's a Tesla Model 3 on legs. The brilliance lies in the shared DNA. The brain inside the robot? It's the exact same FSD computer driving the cars. The eyes? The same cameras. The neural networks, the same occupancy networks that tell a car that is a sidewalk, are now telling Optimus that is a table. We have moved rapidly from the spandex dancer to Gen 2. We are talking about custom-designed actuators and sensors. The hands of Gen 2 are now sensitive enough to handle a raw egg without cracking it, yet strong enough to wield a power drill. The economics of post-scarcity. This is where it gets wild. Because Optimus uses the same supply chain as the cars, the same batteries, the same inference chips. Tesla predicts they can mass-produce these mechanical laborers for less than $20,000. That is cheaper than a Honda Civic. That is cheaper than a minimum wage employee's annual salary. Musk envisions a world with a ratio of 2 robots for every 1 human. Imagine a factory where the machines fix the machines. Imagine a mine where no human lungs ever breathe dust. If this works, the concept of labor cost essentially evaporates. And when labor costs drop to near zero, the cost of everything follows. Part 5. The Silent Giant. Tesla Energy. While the internet argues about Cybertruck panel gaps and robo-taxis, something else is happening in the background. Something massive, something boring, and something incredibly profitable. Tesla Energy. For years, this division was the forgotten stepchild. Not anymore. In 2024, while the automotive market cooled and growth rates normalized, Tesla Energy didn't just grow, it exploded. It is quietly becoming the company's highest growth sector, and the weapon of choice is a white box the size of a shipping container. The Megapack. It doesn't have wheels, it doesn't have leather seats, it just sits there. But inside, it holds 3.9 megawatt-hours of energy. That is enough to power 3,600 homes for an hour. Utilities from California to Australia are buying these things faster than Tesla can build them. Why? Because the old grid is dying. As we add more wind and solar, the grid gets jittery. It creates duck curves and frequency instabilities. The Megapack acts as a massive shock absorber. It injects power in milliseconds, saving the grid from blackouts. The mega factories. To feed this hunger, Tesla built dedicated mega factories in Lathrop, California and Shanghai. These aren't car factories. They are battery printers. They're pumping out 40 gigawatt-hours of storage annually. To put that in perspective, that is more storage than the entire world produced just a few years ago. The secret sauce. Auto bidder. But here's the kicker. It's not just a battery. It's a trader. Every Megapack comes with a piece of software called Auto Bidder. Think of it as high-frequency trading for electricity. The AI watches the energy market in real time. It buys electricity when the price is negative. Yes, that happens when there's too much solar, stores it, and sells it back to the grid 6 hours later when prices spike. It turns a static asset into a money printer. This is the direct execution of the 240 terawatt goal we talked about in Part 1. It is the industrial backbone that makes the rest of the master plan possible. But what does this all mean for you, for the economy, for the end game? We have the energy, we have the manufacturing, we have the AI. Now we must look at the conclusion. Part 6. The can that changes everything. We have the car, we have the robot, we have the grid, but none of it works, absolutely none of it, without the heart of the beast, the battery. For decades, the industry has been stuck. Costs were dropping, sure, but slowly, too slowly. To get to the insane scale of Master Plan 3, you can't just build more factories. You need to reinvent the physics of the cell itself. Enter the 4680, 46 millimeters wide, 80 millimeters tall. It looks like a shiny metal soda can, but inside, it represents a manufacturing revolution that makes the Industrial Revolution look like a warm-up. The Dry Grail. Here is the dirty secret of battery making. It's called the wet process. To make a battery cathode today, you take active powders and mix them with toxic solvents, usually N-methyl-2-pyrrolidone, or NMP. You turn it into a sludge. You spread that toxic sludge onto foil. Then you have to run it through massive ovens, football fields long, to bake the liquid back out. It is slow, it consumes rivers of water, it burns mountains of energy. Tesla asked a simple question: why add the liquid just to dry it out? This is the dry battery electrode. The idea comes from Maxwell Technologies, a company Tesla quietly bought years ago. Instead of sludge, you take the dry powder and press it directly into a film. No solvents, no ovens, no drying time. The impact? If they crack this, and reports on the NC05 and NC20 cells in the Cybertruck suggest they are painfully close, it reduces the energy to build a battery factory by 10x. It cuts water consumption to near zero. It is the difference between printing money and mining for gold. But don't be fooled, this is famously production hell. Imagine trying to spread cold butter perfectly evenly across acres of aluminum foil at highway speeds. That is the engineering nightmare they are solving right now. Part 7. The Billion-Dollar Gamble. Now we stand at the crossroads. This is where the drama heats up. This is where the investors get sweaty palms. Tesla is currently fighting a civil war within its own strategy. On one side, you have the Model 2, the global car, $25,000, steering wheel, pedals. Wall Street wants this. They scream for it. They need it to fight off the rising tide of Chinese giants like BYD, who are flooding the world with cheap EVs. On the other side, you have the Robo taxi, the cybercab. No steering wheel, no pedals, no mirrors, pure, unadulterated FSD. The bet? Musk has made the call. He is pushing the chips to the center of the table. Reports suggest he has deprioritized the safe, boring $25,000 car to go balls to the wall for the robo-taxi. He believes the era of the human-driven car is over. He views a cheap car with a steering wheel as investing in a better horse buggy just as the Model T arrives. The risk? This is high wire act with no net. If the AI stalls, if the regulators say no, Tesla risks walking into a product valley of death. They could be left with an aging lineup while competitors eat their lunch. But if he is right, if he pulls off the unboxed cybercab at a cost of 20 cents per mile, he doesn't just beat BYD, he bankrupts Uber, Hertz, and the entire concept of public transit in one stroke. If you want to watch this high-stakes poker game play out in real time, this is your last chance to like and subscribe to Dravexa. We track every hand dealt. So, what is the secret master plan? You might have clicked on this video thinking it was about cars. By now, you realize it was never about the cars. The cars are just the Trojan horse. The master plan is a blueprint for something much bigger. It is a roadmap to post-scarcity. Look at the Trinity. Infinite energy. Solar plus megapack makes the cost of electricity trend toward zero. Infinite transport. Robo-taxis turn mobility into a utility, costing pennies. Infinite labor. Optimus decouples economic output from human population. If Tesla executes this, and that is still a massive if, we are talking about a fundamental rewriting of the human condition. We aren't just asking, what stock should I buy? We're asking, what does society look like when the cost of living collapses? Tesla is fighting a multi-front war against legacy auto, global regulators, short sellers, and the laws of thermodynamics. They might fail. The risks are existential. But whether they crash and burn or conquer the stars, one thing is certain: the fuse has been lit, the blueprint is out. We are no longer asking if the world will transition, we are only asking how fast. Welcome to the accelerated future.